I don't think I can give my kids a great future. What I can give my kids is a great past. And I think that's what enables me to traverse through life. Just look at my past as a learning tool, as this repository of lessons, and I can look at it and use it for happy things, joyous things. Let's dance again. Let's, build another business, or go through difficult things. Well, I got shot at and I'm alive. So I can probably do this again. This is not going to be as bad. And the only way I can give my kids a great past is by doing things right now in the present.
I'm Tal Safani. At 40, I was introduced to a philosophy that transformed my life. My passion is applying philosophical principles towards a better, I might add, heroic life. Join me as I sit down with people that I find inspiring, guided by their authentic values that define who and how they pursue their happiness. These high-achieving individuals aren't just living a good enough life, they're flourishing. This is the happiest man alive.
We are going to meet an interesting person, a really interesting person, named Lior Weinstein. I met him through his brother. So I had a conversation with his brother, and then I get a phone call from a guy named Lior. And it's like, yeah. And he said, look, you've talked to my brother about this Ayn Rand and objectivism. I'd like to learn more. It's like, okay, what do you want to know? And then he bombarded me with a set of questions. And then we met the next day or something, and I've never seen anyone get into something so quickly. He dropped a lot of his ethical, philosophical premises like you change your shirt. I think he has a very curious mind and is one of the most, I think, intellectually honest people I know. I mean, you want to see an entrepreneur, that's your guy. I mean, he just goes for the what's next, what's new, always has a vision of what could be disrupted. He just dives right in, became an AI expert in a matter of months. Now he's giving talks about it. He's a techie, he's a business person, he's a marketing person, he's a product person. Whatever he wants to be, he will be.
Lior, so good to see you.
Great to see you.
I haven't seen you for how long?
I know.
Months and months. So we're here in your, I don't know where you live today, because you move around a lot.
I know.
Well, you've been to Maui for
Been in Maui for 2 months. We moved here last August.
Here in Austin.
Here in Austin. So we're now 8 months here, but I think I've only been here for 4 months.
Okay.
Since we moved.
So that's where you are now.
Yes,
we're in the
that's
backyard.
where I'm physically in now.
Pool for the kids.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you the Lior hypothesis.
Okay.
And I want your reaction of what's good about it, what's true, what kind of caught the essence, and what's missing. Okay, so Lior Weinstein hypothesis. Lior is walking this earth knowing and loving the fact that he has an independent, confident, and curious mind. It seems there's nothing he can't understand and achieve if he really decides to put his mind to it. This is why he's, I would say, confidently experimental and usually prefers the path less traveled.
Yeah.
Kind of a contrarian mindset.
Yeah.
A self-learner, he dives headfirst into any realm of skill or knowledge that he thinks is interesting and important. Lior does his research, filters out the good knowledge from the false, integrates it, forms his own views, and then implements it until he reaches the state of what I call informed simplicity and expertise. You like to simplify things. When I first spoke to Lior, he knew nothing about Ayn Rand and objectivism, but he quickly picked up that there's something really important here. He asked the most important questions, inquired what he should read, and then read it, all of it, integrated it, asked some more questions, and then, faster than anyone I've ever met, dropped his past premises as if he had no attachment to them. He was interested in nothing other than the truth and the integrity of his ideas. You remember the conversation we had about animal rights?
Oh, yeah.
You do? That's awesome. We'll talk about that. He loves deep integrations and reducing complex things to its basic concepts. Just listen to the way he gives examples. They're always fascinatingly simple. Lior is a quintessential entrepreneur. He loves being at the cutting edge of the curve of early adopters. He loves the new, the unknown, the potential, the promise of the future, and the fact that life is a stream of constant change and disruption. He started this first company at 14, which for him might be a little bit too late. And his risk tolerance is not shared by many humans that I know. He's also an optimizer of time, value, and experience, which explains why his company is about fractional CTOs who optimize the value of their time and experience. If you ask me, Lior would love to be fractional about many more things in his life so he could optimize for his own diversity of experiences. But all of that is reserved to the things he loves. He gets bored quickly with things he doesn't think are important. So don't ask him to do anything that he isn't directly aligned with his vision, because boring stuff can always be automated. And lastly, Lior has achieved something which is rare. He knows how to live perfectly as himself.
Amazing. I love all of this. This should go on my gravestone. This is great.
It's too long for a gravestone.
And now they have QR codes on gravestones.
That's a great idea. But what do you think it captured and that is essential to who you are?
I think the introduction to Ayn Rand really helped me tune in to this concept of integrity and the value of integrity. And I think until I was exposed to that content, I was very obsessed about collecting all these dots and skills.
Okay.
And I wasn't really mindful to how they connect. Meaning I was the connective tissue because it was all me experiencing and me using these things, but I didn't have the filter of how and should it connect. So
a framework that in a way.
No framework. So it all just went in the backpack and without a lot of discernment. And with the introduction to that world of understanding that there is an I and that I care about it, and being discerning of what experiences do I have that I want to keep. Just being mindful of my mind. And the more I move on from life, I define it further and further and refine it. Like now I
refine the I or refine the values?
Refine the I, meaning my focus is identity.
Yeah.
And then the more the identity is clear, the values just kind of write themselves because they're a function of my identity.
Yeah,
that's right. And
are defined by what your identity is defined by the values that it seeks to achieve.
Yeah, there's a really nice meditation I heard recently that it talks about the relationship between cause and effect.
Yeah.
And it's a small line that cause and effect are related, not just in the way that an effect has a cause, but sometimes the effect changes the cause because you don't realize it. Not just like you have a cause and effect and then another cause and effect,
right?
But the effect makes you look back at the cause differently and reframe it. So that kind of recursive loop of life is very interesting to me. So the values define my identity, and my identity defines the values. And also the recognition that some values are forever, and some are good for now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm a dad of 3 kids. My kids are 10, 7, and 5, and I want them to have a pool.
Yeah.
We've been here for 8 months. I think I went once into that pool. So my value of having the pool is for my kids' experience.
Yeah.
And when my kids are older, I'm probably not going to care about it.
Yeah.
And then in business, and this is something I love teaching with my CTOs in my companies, just being very mindful of the freedom of relationship. Kind of who are the people that you invite to your life? And I kind of say it doesn't matter if they're on Zoom or in a room, or whatever humans there are. Because if you really filter for that, everything else seems to fall in line. The other values seems to fall in line. If you have good clients, they're not going to call you on Friday at 8 p.m., with a made-up emergency. Yeah. And when you negotiate, they're not going to negotiate you down. They're actually going to negotiate you up. It's like, oh, how much more value can we create, or can you create, and so on and so forth. And it's really this obsession about an environment you can create around you that emerges the opportunities you want to to experience.
Yeah.
And really, if you focus on that environment, then you don't really need to think about the opportunities as much. You don't need to think about the specific, because you just know in this little aquarium, it's the right fish.
Let's go back to the Lior part, the Lior hypothesis.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in how because you're such an amazing optimizer. I want to understand what you're optimizing for. I mean, what is happiness to you?
Yeah.
And what are you optimizing for? I think you talked about experiences.
So these days, the way I frame it is that I believe my current purpose, and it's probably going to sustain for a long while, is helping people build a life they love to live.
That's your purpose.
Yes.
But that's so broad. I mean,
no.
Could be
Well,
anything,
yes.
right?
Yes. But to do that, I need to do that.
Okay.
Meaning I need to love my life.
Yeah.
So how do I design a life I love to live, which is mostly an exercise of reflection and perspective, right? Because ideally, at any point in time, you love your life. And then if you, and I like that prompt because it keeps the right perspective, meaning it's not small enough. Like, do you like this moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's not hedonistic, right? It really it's about life. Like right now, do you like living your life? Do you love living your life?
Right.
And there's an interesting frame between love and like. It's not the same thing. So a lot of the activities that I'm doing is around that for me. Because if I do it for me, I can resonate out and help people attract and create that gravity for themselves. So there are some things that I optimize for that are, I have a human body, so I need to make sure I work out and I eat the right way and I sleep, although I suck at it. And all these kind of, let's call mechanical things of life, physical things of life.
Yeah.
And then I have the short term, like, do I want to, go to Hawaii for a little bit? Do I want to buy something? Do I want to take a week off with my wife? Right. So it's like a short term experience that I want to have. And then I have, am I setting myself up from a positioning standpoint to the big things I want to experience in life in terms of impact and influence, right?
More a strategic planning of your
of everything,
life, yeah.
Of strategic planning of how I want my kids to remember their childhood and remember me and experience me in their childhood. And then what kind of business opportunities do I still want to experience? And through that is what can I create for other people, because then it'll allow me to experience it. One of my big unlocks early on in the Randian universe, I was in a startup and I was like the second executive in the startup. So it was one I didn't found, but I was a part of the founding team. And the startup was about helping people make more money. And I really love that problem because I'm like, how do you make more money? And in the sense that, well, if you want to lose weight, you generally need to hold one concept, which is eat less calories than your body needs. And if you do it with high carb, low carb, keto, fasting, that's an engineering problem. That's a behavioral issue. But the effect is eat less calories than your body needs, you will lose weight. If you want to save money, spend less money than you make. That's it. Cash envelopes, credit cards, apps, whatever, behavioral issue. But the concept is very simple. But if you want to make more money, if you want to make more money, what do you do? And it took me a while to figure that out. And I came up with this model of take responsibility for creating value to other people. Because I realized you're not going to clean your own house and move money from bank account A to bank account B, right? You can only make money by serving other people. And that's when I also realized the only thing you can do with money is to give it to other people. There's really nothing else you can do with it. You're not going to give it to trees or walks.
It's a tool of exchange.
That's right. Exchange between humans.
Right. And value.
And it's a way to keep score. And then when I realized that, I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. So if I want to make more money, I need to either change my point of responsibility on the value, because the more you're responsible for the value, the more of the value you can capture.
Yeah.
Or I can have the same activity, but change the person. If somebody's cleaning my house, they're not going to make as much money as cleaning Bill Gates' house. right? Same activity, different person, different money. And of course, different value. So not just different responsibility, but same client, but I'm going to do something else for you. Right? That's why investment bankers, financiers make a lot of money, because they're at the very edge of value creation, right? The company could be around for 30 years and they come in and they broker the transaction, they make 5%. Right. So with all these models, I was trying to figure out, one, it was a really direct application from the objectivist thinking of just go into definition.
The essentials.
Go into essentials. And then for me, that's how I think about everything. Well, what value am I creating right now? And it's also the reverse. If I'm making money, it means I was creating value for someone else. Somebody asked me for something. And that's my ability to capture that value. So if I do more for them, or if I take more responsibility, I can make more of that money and so on. So a lot of the things in my life right now are just around that. What kind of value do I want to create? What kind of value do I want to experience on the other end? Like, meaning, what values do I want to consume?
So you're putting as much effort into what I want to consume as you do for what I want to earn.
Absolutely. Because that defines the relationship in my life. Because all of the relationships for me were some value creation.
Right.
One way or another. It doesn't matter if it's for money.
Yeah.
Right? But that's how I know that I have high quality relationships.
Yeah.
By looking at the value exchange between us, because but when we're conscious, we're doing something.
Right. But let's go back to the concept of happiness, because I want to talk about the currency.
Yeah.
How do you experience at the end of the day, when you've succeeded in applying all of those principles you talked about, how do you experience the reward? Is it introspective? How would you define when you say, I am happy, I am fulfilled, I'm expressing myself? What does it mean to you?
It's definitely introspective because I'm trying to win on the unit.
Win on the unit?
I'm trying to an hour just passed or a day just passed. I'm trying to reflect on that.
Okay.
As opposed to constantly have the higher level perspective of happiness in life.
So we know there's a unit of time or an hour or whatever, but what is the denominator? Is it value per time? Is it experience per time? What is it?
I would say experience per time.
Okay.
And it's reflective, meaning I look back, even if I had a hard time, like a hard day, I look back and I'm trying to ask these simple kind of prompts to myself. Did I like that day? Right. So I'll give you an example. I was on a trip in Africa with my wife and kids a few years ago. And this was it was like a 6-week trip. And by the end of week 4, we were at the edge of the Serengeti. And it was a few families, we were like 5-6 families, and beautiful bonfire, end of the night, kids are in their cabins, and all the parents are sharing, reflections from the trip until that point. And one of the couples were saying the reason they do that travel, because not a lot of people travel with young kids, that kind of travel, right? They wait until their kids are teenagers, and we've never waited. We've always taken it. And they said something like, we're doing this because we want our kids to have a great future. And then the other parents were kind of nodding. And then it got to me and I'm like, I don't think I can give my kids a great future. And everybody was like, like Scooby-Dooing. And I'm like, well, if I look back at my childhood, so going back 30, 35 years, I could have never predicted any of it. Zero.
Or your parents, in a way, could not aim for anything like that.
Nothing. But I told them what I can give my kids is a great past. And I think that's what enables me to traverse through life. Just look at my past as a learning tool, as this repository of lessons. And I can look at it and use it for happy things, joyous things. Let's dance again. Let's, build another business. Or go through difficult things. Well, I got shot at and I'm alive. So I can probably do this again. This is not going to be as bad. And the only way I can give my kids a great past is by doing things right now in the present. Right. I can't do things in the future. I can do things in the present. I can plan for things in the future. I can hope to do things in the future. But the only control I have is right now. It's my conscious state in the present.
Yeah.
And that's the same for me. I'm trying to create a great past for me. So if a day passes or a moment passes or a meeting passes, I'm trying to look back actively and think, was that a great past? Can I use it for later?
Yeah.
One of the things that is most curious to me about you is something that took me, 3 years, took you a month, which is to draw premises and go through the psychological process of getting rid of them. You said, you collected dots and then objectivism gave you the framework. When I experienced objectivism for the first time, I realized how much of my premises are wrong. Ethical premises, even epistemological premises, political premises. And then I had to fight with myself for a long time to say, how could it be that I've ran for a couple of decades on wrong premises that led me to where I am and explains all of the contradictions in my life and so on. And I fought it. I didn't drop it. Like, okay, got it. Good, let's go.
Yeah.
And for what happened between us is, so I'll tell the story. The story from my perspective, I don't know how you remember it.
Yeah.
I was talking to your brother Erez about objectivism, and then I get a call from you. I remember where I was. I was like, hi, this is Lior, I'm Erez.
I remember where I was too. I was in the car.
You were in the car?
Yeah.
I was in my study. And I would like to, I don't know what prompted you to call me.
Yeah.
But like, I've heard something Erez told me, this seems important. They're like, can you tell me a little bit more? We talked about it, and then I gave you a couple of things to read, and you're like, I don't know how fast you read, but you read almost everything I get. And then we met for lunch.
Yeah.
And we talked about what I remember is that it was very intense.
Yeah.
And then you asked me about animal rights because you were actively for animal rights. You were like dog shelters or something like that. And I told you there's no such thing as animal rights. And you're like, huh? And then I explained what rights are and why they don't apply to animals.
Yeah.
And I saw you at that moment kind of debating. It's like, wait a second, I'm invested in this.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember if it was the next day or something. I was like, I think you, and then you told me, I think you're right about this.
Yeah.
And you dropped it.
Yeah.
I was like, how can it be that someone so invested in something, just like, wow, you know what? I think he's right. Done. Mm-hmm. What is this kind of the psychology you're running? Mm-hmm. Or how do you, I don't know. I'll let you give your explanation of what happened there.
Two things in that call, in that meeting. There was the animal rights, and the leading premise to that was I was telling you that I was looking at this thing called effective altruism.
Yes, I remember that.
And then we talked about what I've now heard many times from other people, like if you have the responsibility, if you have the capability, you have the responsibility. And
sounds like my kibbutz.
Yeah, exactly. Now I hear it all the time because it's the Marvel kind of superhero frame, right?
Right.
Which probably got popularized by then as a function of religious, doctrine and all that. And then you told me, I remember that line, you told me there is no duty.
Yeah.
Because I said something like, don't you think you have a duty or we have a duty? And said, there is no duty. And as soon as you said it, I'm like, there is no duty. Like as soon as you said it, I'm like, shit, that is interesting. Then I thought about it that night and I realized, yeah, there is no duty. It's not a thing. It's a choice. And you want to do things because you want to, not because you have to. And in your very basic being, you don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do anything. As proof, you can just look at it.
Yeah.
And when you have to do something, it's coercion. It's force. Which means it's not you making a decision, so that discussion is irrelevant.
If somebody coerces you.
That's right. Yeah, if somebody's coerced, exactly. Yeah. And then it's not you, so it's not relevant, it's not a part of your being. And I'm very big, and I was always very big on strong opinions weakly held. And sometimes I get it. When people talk to me and they might share something like, oh, you're very intimidating. I'm like, I get it because I'm very firm with my opinions, but they're also extremely weakly held. Because if somebody can just show me a better way, I'm for the better way.
And that's where I think, it's epistemological in the sense of what you call knowledge.
That's right.
And do you see yourself as a truth seeker?
Yeah.
And how does it manifest itself in everything you do?
Everything I do, I'm trying to figure out what's real. And I think a lot of people take a left turn with that sentence and they say, what's real to me?
Right.
And I'm like, no.
I know.
What's
Objectively,
real? Just
objectively
what's
true.
real right now. So if somebody else looks at it, even if an animal looks at it, they respond as proof of reality.
Right.
And so it's really in everything, and including myself. I think the upgrade over the years is, especially in the past, let's say kind of 3 years for me, is this confrontation of like, what's real that I don't like? And being okay with it, like being okay with like, okay, I'm gonna change it because I need it to be real. And sometimes there's value in made up reality distortion fields as these abstract notions to be able to push to something, right? Kind of think about an ideal. That's what I think about, an ideal, get people rah-rahed into something, get myself rah-rahed into something. I really like these frames, like alter egos. Like if I'm at the gym, I can imagine I'm a Hulk, you know? It's not real, but it's useful.
Right. It's motivating.
That's right. And then just putting the mirror back on me and saying, okay, if it's real, that means I can expand it, I can work with it, it'll Lego in other pieces of my life, and reality is very important to me. So it's really in anything, in any sentence I say, any contract I sign, any movie, and I because of it, I would say entertainment. I'm a big movie guy for years because I love stories. But something probably happened over the past 2-3 years where I can watch less and less and less movies because I'm looking for the reality of it. And a lot of the modern stories that we see people tell are just not very interesting. Not very
Or
interesting.
you see the kernel in them of like, it's not such a good idea.
It's just not a good idea.
I was talking about, it's kind of funny. I was talking to Matt Bateman, that you know, about La La Land.
Oh, yeah.
One of his, what do you think about La La Land?
I didn't love it.
You didn't love it?
I didn't love it.
Oh, you have to see it.
But that's because I didn't like it more like musically. For me, I had a hard time like with the movie when it came out, by the way, which was a tumultuous time in my life. Like it was. I should probably rewatch it.
We should watch it again.
I should probably.
Something that fascinates me is what Ayn Rand wrote for the New Intellectual, which is a perspective of history, of how history is shaped, and the fact that she called them the twins that were kind of born out of the Industrial Revolution, which is the independent thinker, the philosopher who can now, in the free market, exchange value with their ideas, and the businessman, the American businessman that came out as an entrepreneur with a free market. And she says, instead of cooperating and partnering together to create a new world where each one with a division of labor serves each other, because you need the men of the mind, the men of action and wealth creation to come together and support each other. And instead they went against each other, like the ivory tower and the pragmatist. Right. You are in a way one of the few people that I know. No, I wouldn't say few. I know quite many more today, but
it's a self-selecting audience. For
exactly. My distortion. Of a person that has one foot in philosophy and understanding the power of ideas, and one foot in wealth creation, and like the sometimes the complexity of making something happen and real with your customers and what they want and the market and the product market fit. How do you see yourself as this new intellectual that she talks about, which is think about ideas, understand and appreciate the people who dedicate their lives to that. Right. And also be on the other side of, fighting the fight, being in the field. How do you see yourself in those two worlds?
I think I love what's happening in the modern world with coaching, because it's a wrapper for old school mentoring, being a master, being in the Aristotle class.
Right.
And coaching is nice because it's an intellectual frame that's about action.
So it's ideas applied to action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All coaching setups, whether they're groups or one-on-one, you're really just talking about your thinking.
Right.
Because coaching is not training.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're not like doing a coaching session and you're training for something. You're not practicing.
Yeah.
You're actually talking about what you're going to do.
Right.
And you're talking about why you're going to do it and what you're not going to do.
And how you're going to win.
And how you're going to win.
Yeah.
And how a lot of things are going to win. Like you, the company, the group, the team. So I love being a coach and I love being coached. And I think it's like this Trojan horse of a concept to get people to appreciate thinking about ideas and knowing the relationship. Like one of my favorite peak-off models is thought, action, production, achievement. I think about it all the time. And the reason I think about it all the time is because it's really just, if your thought is like 1 degree off, all the other things just go into another star instead of the moon. Like it's really, it's amazing to see.
Yeah.
And when you think like that, when you think in the thought as an action is a function of thought, production is a function of action, and achievement is a function of production. So you understand the relationship with these kind of graphs, and then you really become minded to the thought. Is it a high quality thought to the achievement that you want to experience or to the life experience?
So in a way, it's a waterfall where you see. So how do you think about philosophy or philosophers like Ayn Rand, Leonard Peikoff, people who really are holding that level of strategic thinking?
Yeah.
What's your view of them and the importance, and how do you, in a way, insert those ideas or those premises into coaching?
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate them, love them, envious of them.
Of their ability to.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And every time I find an area that I get to do it, that I get to create a new mental model, like it's so satisfying to me. For me, it's very, like even when I coach my CTOs in one of my companies and we talk about negotiation, I literally talk about value. I'm like, what do you guys think value is? They're like, well, it's something you act to gain or keep. And I go at it from the very base definition. So when they go for the negotiation, when they talk to their prospects, when they talk to their clients, they're thinking from that rudimentary base. And then everything else seems to be much easier. For example, some of the things we talk about is the difference between front stage value and backstage value. And I tell them front stage value is the thing that you promise that are present, like that your clients or prospects expect. And backstage is the thing you actually do that you control. And it's very tactical. Like for example, when they do a proposal, and I think I have a proposal review today. If they share, yeah, we're gonna do a weekly report. I'm like, why do you put that as a front stage value?
Yeah.
Do you think anybody wants to read a report? They don't want to read a report. They want things done. Mm-hmm. And now you're gonna miss 1 week. So now you have a denominator. Oh, I expected 4 reports. So now I didn't get the value of the retainer or value of the pay. I mean, drop it. I tell them, like the IRS, you can pay as much taxes as you want. You can give as many reports as you want.
Yeah.
Right? But don't promise it.
Right.
So versus backstage, you can do whatever you want. You can you can be in endless meetings, you can create whatever reports you want, but it's for you to figure out if you actually need it to generate a value. So in my coaching, we go back to raw definition all the time before we roll up to the activity, because then the activity suddenly makes sense to them. They're
so you
like,
take them up the chain, back to the chain, thinking, back to the premises.
With any topic
definitions
they ask about.
Yeah.
With any topic they ask about. Yeah. Like even if it's a sales call, prospect call, and they ask me something about the program, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Like it's even in like basic sales, I start with like definitions, purpose. What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Why do you want to do it? And now we're going to talk about the how. And most people get trapped in the how. They immediately go, even in technology, it's super common, right? They talk about the security and the database. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care about any of that. I kind of say as a technologist, I'm a hammer that hates nails.
Yeah.
And I really want to make sure that we talk about impact and what and why. Yeah. And then how is the last thing we do.
Look, Lior, I don't know how it is, but we're running out of time. I have tons of questions for you. We're going to do another one of those.
Let's do it again.
Okay.